The front door was wide open. Marcus Johnson froze at the gate, the early evening sun casting a long shadow behind him. He had imagined this moment every single night for 5 years, walking back into his own house after prison, hearing his wife cry his name, feeling his children's arms around his waist. Instead, he heard laughter. Not just any laughter. His househelp's laughter. And another voice, soft, confident, familiar. A woman's voice giving instructions. "Brielle, make sure the rice doesn't burn, and set the table for 2. My husband will be home soon." Marcus's breath caught in his throat. My husband. The voice belonged to Alicia. His wife. The same wife who packed 2 suitcases and disappeared 3 weeks after he was sentenced. The same wife who sent him one cold letter that read, "I can't live like this. I'm sorry." She had abandoned the house. Abandoned him. But now she was inside. Claiming it again. Marcus stepped into the compound slowly. The hibiscus flowers he planted years ago were trimmed neatly. The broken fence he never got around to fixing had been replaced. The house looked better than it ever had. The curtains were different. The walls were repainted. And inside his own living room, standing confidently near the couch he bought with his first big contract, was Brielle Thompson, the quiet househelp he hired long ago to help Alicia when business kept him busy. Only she didn't look like a househelp anymore. She wore a simple but elegant blue dress. Her hair, once tied back in a shy bun, now fell in smooth curls around her shoulders. She wasn't holding a tray. She was holding keys. House keys. Marcus pushed the door fully open. The laughter stopped. 3 faces turned toward him. Alicia dropped the spoon she was holding. It clattered loudly on the tiled floor. Brielle didn't move. She simply stared. And then she said words that sent cold fear down Marcus's spine. "You're not supposed to be here today." Silence swallowed the room. Marcus's eyes shifted from Brielle to Alicia. Alicia looked thinner. Her once bright eyes were now guarded. She took a hesitant step forward. "Marcus, you're early." Early. He had written to them about his release date. He had counted down the days. "I live here," Marcus said slowly. Brielle's grip tightened around the keys. "Not anymore," she replied quietly. The air felt heavy, like the moment before a thunderstorm breaks. Marcus looked around the house again. His framed pictures were gone. In their place were new photos. Photos of Brielle and the children at school events. Photos of Alicia, standing beside Brielle. Smiling. As if nothing had ever happened. "What is going on?" Marcus asked. No one answered. And that was the moment he realized something worse than prison had happened while he was away. Something had shifted in his absence. Something he didn't understand yet. And just as Marcus took another step forward, a car horn sounded outside. All 3 of them flinched. Brielle's face changed. Alicia's face went pale. And Marcus turned toward the window. Just as a tall man stepped out of a black SUV, adjusting his suit jacket, walking toward the house like he belonged there. And the shocking truth about what had happened during those 5 years was about to explode. But Marcus had no idea he wasn't the only one who had changed while he was gone. And what he was about to hear would shake everything he thought he knew about loyalty, betrayal, and home. To understand how his househelp could stand in his living room and tell him he didn't belong. We have to go back to the day everything fell apart. 5 years earlier, Marcus Johnson was the kind of man people respected when he walked into a room. He wasn't flashy. He didn't talk too much. But in Oakwood Heights, a quiet neighborhood just outside Atlanta, everyone knew Marcus as the hardworking contractor who built homes from the ground up. He had strong hands, a steady voice, and a reputation for keeping his word. Alicia loved that about him. When they first met at a church fundraiser, she told her friends he felt safe. Marcus built their house with his own team. He planted the flowers. He designed the kitchen just the way she liked it. They had 2 children, Jadon and Nia, and on the outside, they looked like the perfect family. But success attracts attention. And not all attention is good. Marcus entered into a business partnership with a man named Leonard Price, someone who promised bigger contracts and faster growth. Leonard was charming. He talked smooth. He dressed sharp. He knew how to convince people. Marcus trusted him. That was his first mistake. One evening, police cars filled the street. Red and blue lights flashed across the windows of their home. Neighbors stood outside whispering. Alicia held Nia in her arms, while Jadon clung to her dress. Marcus stood on the porch in handcuffs. Fraud, embezzlement, financial crimes tied to construction funds. Marcus kept saying the same words. I didn't do this. But Leonard was nowhere to be found. The evidence pointed to Marcus. His signatures were on documents. Money had moved through accounts in his company's name. Even Alicia looked confused. Not angry. Confused. And sometimes confusion is more dangerous than anger. At the trial, Marcus looked back at his wife in the courtroom. She wouldn't meet his eyes. 5 years. That was the sentence. 5 years behind bars. 3 weeks after he was taken away, Alicia stopped visiting. 2 weeks after that, she stopped answering calls. And then came the letter. I can't raise these kids alone under the shame. I need space. I'm sorry. She left the house. Left the neighborhood. Left everything. But she didn't sell the house. She didn't fight for it. She just disappeared. And that's where Betrayal's story begins. Betrayal Thompson had been working in their home for nearly 2 years before Marcus was arrested. She was quiet, respectful, and observant. She noticed everything but spoke little. When Alicia left, the children were staying temporarily with Alicia's cousin. The house stood empty. Marcus's mother tried to maintain it, but she was older and lived across town. Betrayal did something no one expected. She moved in. At first, it was to clean, then to maintain, then to protect it from being vandalized. Oakwood Heights wasn't the same without Marcus's presence. Word spread that the owner was in prison. Strangers began driving slowly past the property at night. Betrayal stayed. She paid small bills from her own savings to keep the electricity on. She kept the lawn trimmed. She refused to let the house fall apart. People in the neighborhood started talking. Why is the househelp still there? Where's the wife? Is she trying to take over? But Betrayal ignored them. Inside prison walls, Marcus didn't know any of this. He worked in the library. He kept to himself. He replayed every business deal in his head, trying to figure out where things went wrong. And every night, he wondered the same thing. Why didn't Alicia fight for me? Meanwhile, something unexpected happened outside those prison walls. Alicia came back. Not for Marcus, but for the house. The market had gone up. The property was now worth nearly double what they paid for it. She needed money. But when she walked up the driveway, after almost a year of absence, she found Betrayal inside. Living there. Taking care of everything. The confrontation that day was quiet but intense. This is my house, Alicia said. I know, Betrayal replied calmly. That's why I protected it. Alicia expected to find dust and decay. Instead, she found order. Stability. Even the children's old rooms were untouched. And for the first time since Marcus went to prison, Alicia felt something she hadn't expected. Guilt. But guilt doesn't always lead to honesty. Instead of selling the house, Alicia made a different choice. She stayed. But not as the woman who once ruled the home. She stayed as someone trying to rebuild her image. And over the next 4 years, lines began to blur. Between loyalty and opportunity. Between absence and presence. Between wife and househelp. If you're watching right now, take a moment and tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? Is it Atlanta, Houston, Lagos, London? Let us know. And as this story unfolds, ask yourself, if someone abandons a home during its darkest hour, do they still have a right to it when the light returns? Share this story with someone who loves powerful drama, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Because what Alicia did next would slowly shift the balance of power in that house. And by the time Marcus stepped out of prison, the truth was no longer simple. It was dangerous. When Alicia moved back into the house, she did not arrive with apologies. She arrived with paperwork. She claimed she needed to organize assets. She said it was for the children's future. She said Marcus might not come out the same man. Brielle listened quietly. At first, their relationship was tense but civil. Alicia slept in the master bedroom. Brielle stayed in the smaller guest room. The children gradually returned home. But something had changed in the children. They ran to Brielle first. They asked Brielle for homework help. They told Brielle their secrets. Alicia noticed. And she didn't like it. Over time, Alicia started introducing herself differently to neighbors. "I've been managing everything," she would say. "Not we. Not Brielle." She began handling finances. She took over Marcus's remaining accounts. She refinanced part of the property. Brielle didn't argue. She simply continued showing up for the children. But then, a new figure entered the picture. Darius Cole, a polished investor who claimed he could help Alicia secure long-term stability. He visited often, too often. And one evening, Brielle overheard something that made her heart pound. "If Marcus signs those final release documents," Darius said quietly, "the property legally transfers to you. But if he doesn't, things get complicated." Alicia's voice was low. "He won't question me. He trusts me." Brielle realized then that this wasn't about survival. It was about ownership. And somewhere in those quiet nights, Brielle made a decision that would change everything. When Alicia moved back into the house, she did not arrive with apologies. She arrived with paperwork. She claimed she needed to organize assets. She said it was for the children's future. She said Marcus might not come out the same man. Brielle listened quietly. At first, their relationship was tense but civil. Alicia slept in the master bedroom. Brielle stayed in the smaller guest room. The children gradually returned home. But something had changed in the children. They ran to Brielle first. They asked Brielle for homework help. They told Brielle their secrets. Alicia noticed. And she didn't like it. Over time, Alicia started introducing herself differently to neighbors. "I've been managing everything," she would say. "Not we. Not Brielle." She began handling finances. She took over Marcus's remaining accounts. She refinanced part of the property. Brielle didn't argue. She simply continued showing up for the children. But then, a new figure entered the picture. Darius Cole, a polished investor who claimed he could help Alicia secure long-term stability. He visited often, too often. And one evening, Brielle overheard something that made her heart pound. "If Marcus signs those final release documents," Darius said quietly, "the property legally transfers to you. But if he doesn't, things get complicated." Alicia's voice was low. "He won't question me. He trusts me." Brielle realized then that this wasn't about survival. It was about ownership. And somewhere in those quiet nights, Brielle made a decision that would change everything. The day Marcus was released from prison, he called the house 3 times. No answer. He assumed Alicia was busy preparing a welcome. He had no idea she and Darius had just returned from a lawyer's office. The documents were ready. Alicia needed Marcus's signature. But when Marcus unexpectedly arrived earlier than planned, everything shifted. Darius had come to celebrate what he believed was the final step. Instead, he stepped into a house filled with tension. Back in the present, in that living room, Marcus stared at the suited man approaching through the window. "Who is that?" Marcus asked. Alicia swallowed. Just someone helping with investments. Darius walked in confidently. Marcus, I've heard a lot about you. The audacity stunned him. Brielle stepped forward slightly. Maybe this isn't the right time. Marcus noticed something in her tone. Protectiveness. Why would his house help defend him? Darius placed a folder on the table. We were just finalizing some matters. Marcus opened it. Property transfer. Full ownership to Alicia. Signed by her. Waiting for him. His chest tightened. You were planning this before I even came home. Alicia's voice cracked. I had to think about the children. And leaving me wasn't thinking about them. Silence. Darius stepped in again, too smooth. Keep emotions out of this. That was when Marcus realized. This wasn't just about abandonment. It was about replacement. If this story is hitting close to home, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. And tell us in the comments, what would you have done if you came home to this? Would you sign, or would you fight? Because Marcus was about to do something none of them expected. He closed the folder. I'm not signing anything. And Darius's confident smile faded. The tension exploded over the next few days. Marcus refused to leave the house. Alicia insisted she had carried the burden alone. You weren't there, she cried. I was in prison, Marcus shot back. You left before the sentence was even halfway done. The children watched from the hallway. Brielle stepped between them when voices rose too high. One evening, Marcus asked Brielle directly, Why are you still here? She looked him in the eyes. Because someone had to protect what you built. Those words lingered. Later that night, Marcus checked old documents in his study. He discovered something alarming. Several withdrawals from company accounts during his first year in prison. Authorized by Alicia. The timeline didn't match the charges against him. It meant one thing. Someone else had manipulated the records. And suddenly, Leonard Price's disappearance made more sense. Marcus wasn't the only victim. Alicia might have been used too. But was she innocent? Or had she chosen survival over loyalty? Marcus hired a lawyer quietly. He began investigating. Darius grew impatient. You're complicating things, Darius warned Alicia. But Alicia started noticing cracks in Darius's story. Promises that didn't align. Money that vanished. Then Brielle revealed something shocking. She had kept copies of old mail addressed to Marcus during the first year of his sentence. One envelope was from Leonard. Unopened. Marcus tore it open. Inside was a confession. Leonard admitted falsifying documents and using Marcus's signature electronically. He wrote that others were involved, including someone closer than you think. The room went still. Closer than you think. Who did that mean? Alicia. Or someone else entirely. If you've ever seen Betrayal twist into something bigger, share this story and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. And tell us, have you ever trusted the wrong person and paid for it? Because the next revelation would shake the house completely. The truth surfaced slowly. Leonard and Darius had worked together. Darius wasn't just an investor. He was connected to the scheme that framed Marcus. Alicia had been manipulated during Marcus's trial. Darius convinced her Marcus might actually be guilty. He positioned himself as her support. But when Marcus refused to sign over the property, Darius panicked. He confronted Alicia privately. You don't want him digging deeper. That was the moment Alicia realized she had been used. Not as a partner. As leverage. Meanwhile, Marcus uncovered evidence that could reopen his case. If proven, his conviction could be overturned. But pursuing it would mean exposing Alicia's financial actions, too. Would he protect her? Or protect himself? The confrontation happened at night. Marcus placed all the documents on the dining table. Leonard's confession. Bank transfers. Emails. Darius's name appeared everywhere. Alicia broke down. "I was scared," she whispered. "I thought you were guilty. I didn't know who to trust." "And so you left," Marcus said quietly. Darius tried to leave the house. Police were already outside. Betrayal had made a call earlier that evening after overhearing his threats. Darius was arrested. The charges reopened Marcus's case. Within months, the court acknowledged evidence tampering. Marcus's conviction was officially overturned. But freedom did not automatically restore what was broken. Alicia stood in the living room one last time. "I thought survival meant moving on," she said. "I didn't realize it meant losing everything." She packed her bags quietly. This time, there were no arguments. No shouting. Just acceptance. The house felt different. Calmer. Marcus stood in the backyard, watching Jadon and Nia play. Betrayal joined him. "You don't have to stay," Marcus said gently. She looked at the children. "I'm not staying for the house." He understood. Over time, trust rebuilt, not quickly, not dramatically, but steadily. Marcus reopened his business with stronger safeguards. He told his story publicly, warning others about blind trust in partnerships. Alicia moved to another state to start over. She called the children often. But the home she once abandoned no longer waited for her return. One evening, Marcus handed Betrayal the house keys. Not as a househelp, but as an equal partner in rebuilding the family. Sometimes, abandonment teaches painful lessons. Sometimes, loyalty shows up quietly when everything else falls apart. And sometimes, the person who was never meant to take your place becomes the one who earns it. If this story moved you, like this video and share it with someone who believes loyalty still matters. And tell us in the comments, what would you have done if you were Marcus? Would you forgive? Would you walk away? Don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories like this. Because in life, the real prison isn't always made of walls. Sometimes it's made of choices. And freedom only comes when the truth finally walks through the door.